Welcome to Movie Review with TF2, and for today's film, we have The Truman Show, a movie which was brought to my attention again by Cinemassacre's Febru-Carrey marathon they have going on. Hashtag bless this man. I mentioned that this film was brought up to me again because years ago, my good friend actually lent me this film for me to watch, since he knew I was a massive fan of Jim Carrey. And when I went to put The Truman Show in my player, I paused it after the first few minutes because my parents told me we had to go somewhere, and for some reason or another, I never gave the time to watch it, and just returned it back. The Truman Show then faded from my mind, only to return when James Rolfe mentioned he and his friends were going to review it on rental reviews. Being curious about it again, I went out to go buy a copy of The Truman Show, determined to watch my favorite childhood actor in this film that was almost 22 years old. After finally watching it, I feel like I did a disservice to the film never watching it, but at the same time, I think the film showed up at the right time in my life. So actually going into the story of The Truman Show, it focuses on Jim Carrey's character Truman Burbank and his everyday life on Sea Haven Island. Everything in Truman's life is so perfect and wonderful, which is a wonderful setting to have to contrast with the strange oddities that happen to Truman. Whether it be a stage light falling from the sky or the people closest to him not really listening to him. From there, Truman finally decides to take charge and figure out exactly why these oddities keep happening. And for the rest of the film, we see the story play out from his own perspective and beyond. One of the most interesting things about the film is the fact that the director, Peter Weir, decides to show the audience a taste of the twist at the beginning of the film, which took me off guard given a lot of stories traditionally decide to save the twist towards the end of the film. And despite it taking me off guard, I was actually thrilled to get an inkling on what the twist of The Truman Show was. And what is the twist? Truman is actually in a reality TV show and he has no clue about it until he starts to notice all those oddities on Sea Haven Island. And when this is presented at the beginning of the film, so many of the smaller details stick out to you, such as spots where cameras are hidden or the way the film is shot. And speaking of which, the cinematography is absolutely brilliant, and I love the way they used it, like covering the edges of the camera lens to show that this is what is being broadcasted to audiences around the world. All of the different style of shots are done nicely also, contrasting with one another, but never creating a jarring transition. I loved watching all of the shots that was captured in the film, so I must applaud the cinematographer Peter Bezu for his outstanding work. But someone else that makes the film so watchable is the leading man himself, Jim Carrey. I've always had a soft spot for Jim Carrey, even in his latter films where he more or less plays himself as opposed to the character that was written for him. This film is definitely an exception though, since he plays back his more wacky nature and delivers a more grounded performance. Except for that one part where he's driving in a circle. But still, he does such a great job portraying Truman as this honest and genuine human being who just wants to live the best life he can. Truman may not be a groundbreaking character, but he plays along with the story so well that you're immediately attached to him and want him to find that happiness. And with him having such a grounded delivery, he pulls off an incredible performance that resonated heavily with me. And that performance alone makes it believable that there could be a television show that focused on his life 24/7. And the person that orchestrated this world for Truman is Christof, who's played by Ed Harris. While watching the special features on the DVD, I heard that they had a difficult time casting the role of Christof, and that Ed Harris was a last-minute replacement. And it's honestly surprising to me, since I thought Ed did an incredible job playing this character. Ed seemed destined to play the role given the air he delivered as Christof, a man who tries to give Truman the best possible life he can, while also bringing comforting entertainment to the entire world. A lot of characters like these fall flat for me, given that they could be so one-dimensional. There's only been a handful of characters similar to Christof, such as Ozymandias from Watchmen, that have perfectly captured this ideology. And while I wouldn't say Christof is the perfectly written character, He is done marvelously, and every look Ed gave spoke 1,000 words. Really, none of the characters are perfect or really stick out, but they do such a miraculous job fitting into the story, and every actor really did a phenomenal job in The Truman Show. Before we talk about the ending, I'm going to throw up a timestamp where you could skip ahead, just in case you want to skip some mild spoilers. Up until the ending, I was hooked, and I was so curious as to what was going to happen next. And because I was hooked, I was also scared. A lot of great stories can have such a great build-up, only to have a disappointing and unsatisfactory end. And with The Truman Show, the ending was actually really good. The ending, in all honesty, is one of the best I have ever seen. It took a lot of the best elements in the film and used them at their very best. The imagery given is absolutely stunning, the emotion of Truman and Christoph is so real, and the payoff is so satisfying. The ending is one of those moments that stick with you, and whenever you think about The Truman Show, you think about this ending. I absolutely loved it, and I thought it went along with the film perfectly. So I probably don't need to say this, but if you have not watched The Truman Show, I most definitely say give it a watch. There really wasn't a moment where I was bored or annoyed with the film, and it had me captivated even after the credits had rolled. I am hesitant to say that this is one of my favorite films or not, but it most definitely was a breath of fresh air, and I'm so happy a film like this exists. I will definitely revisit this film since it is one of Jim Carrey's best films I've seen, and I have to give a big thank you to Cinemassacre for bringing this film to my attention once more. And just like that, another review is in the books. I do genuinely want to give a thank you to Cinemassacre for doing Febru-Carrey month on their channel, and if you somehow don't know about them, definitely check them out. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I look forward to sharing another movie review with you guys. Thank you all so much, and in case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I don't know, I couldn't help it.